But first, a UK charity is piloting an information card for Scots with brain injuries to make life easier for them. The Brain Injury ID card will allow users to easily tell other members of the public about their condition, even if they have communication problems. Nick Sheridan has more.
I'm not going to sit round and feel sorry for myself, if you know what I mean. I'm trying to make things better for myself.
Callum McLean has learned a lot in the last 7 years. He has learned to walk again, to talk again, and to deal with life as a survivor of brain damage.
I had a brain tumour, got flown off to the Royal Infirmary in Aberdeen, and I got a tumour taken out.
Callum, like many other survivors, can struggle to communicate at times. Too often, his speech or the way he walks can single him out as someone to avoid.
You can go into any shop and people will go, a person is drunk because you're staggering all over the place.
Brain injury charity Headway is now trying to tackle that issue with these brain injury ID cards to be carried by survivors, allowing them to efficiently communicate the nature of their injuries to police, taxi drivers and anyone else who may get the wrong idea. Headways describes cards like these as a simple solution to a tricky conversation, all part of a broader conversation happening more and more in halls like this one around brain injuries.
Some survivors, when they've had these bad experiences, actually began to think, is it worth me going out? People assume that I'm some sort of drunk or I'm on drugs. Then that leads to social isolation.
The cards have already been trialled in Glasgow and Ayr, and the response has been immediate.
It's been a big difference, this card. It's more awareness with other people as well. They'll be judgmental, if you know what I mean. They'll understand.
Nick Sheridan, STV News.
Well, joining me now from Headway to tell us a little more about the ID cards is Gail. Welcome to the show. Gail, you firstly just tell me a little bit about the ID cards and why they should be used.
Yeah, I think to kind of emphasise that a brain injury, it's a hidden disability and it's so widely misunderstood. And I think, like Callum and others have said, is that it can lead to assumptions that a brain injury survivor are drunk, they might have slurred speech, they could have mobility problems, and that assumption can be made. Sadly, that can lead to people being arrested and then coming into contact with the criminal justice system. Could be in their capacity as a victim, a witness, or a perpetrator of a crime. So the main purpose of the card is to ensure that the police can very quickly identify somebody as a brain injury survivor and make sure that they get the adequate support.
And just give us a little bit of an insight about the sort of challenges that people with brain injuries face in Scotland on a day-to-day basis. I
think that's important to remember, that for many brain injury survivors, their difficulties are everyday. It's not a one-off, it's kind of every day. They can have problems with communication. Fatigue's a massive problem. If they get themselves into a difficult situation, they can struggle with that. They don't have as good problem-solving skills as the rest of us do. So they can become very quickly even more confused and pretty bewildered.
And for people that don't know much about brain injuries and know how to deal with it, like what should those people be mindful of when dealing with people with brain injuries?
I think for me the first thing would be, don't make an assumption. The card is very unique and it's very personal to every card holder. It lists 4 symptoms or 4 effects that their brain injury has on them. So I would ask somebody, to kind of read the card and see what the 4 personal difficulties are and then respond appropriately.
So how will the card actually be used? Will it be on show? Will people just be able to...
No, I think, no, it's a very discreet card. It will be carried in somebody's pocket, in their wallet. And the good thing, it allows the brain injury survivor, they will use the card when they feel it's appropriate. Do you think in Scotland there's a stigma or a taboo around brain injuries, and do people just need to get talking a little bit more about it so it becomes a more normal thing? Absolutely. I think because for most people it's such a hidden disability. It's not something that you immediately see. It's extremely complex. And I think the more we can raise awareness of the effects of brain injury, then the better it can be for our brain injury survivors. Fantastic. Gail, thank you so much for joining us on STV News at 1. Thank you.
An unfinished